Good morning, everyone, and very warm welcome to the esteemed faculties here, and very warm welcome to each one of you who have been fighting with this COVID-19 situation. It's a proud privilege for us to discuss today about what this COVID-19 has done and how this COVID-19 has impacted each and everyone's life, plus how this COVID-19 academically is going to be relevant for us. So with these words, with a very warm welcome to everyone and a very warm welcome to all the students who are attending this session, I would like to initiate this session with our Deepa ma'am, who has been a great faculty for this preventive and social medicine. All to you, ma'am.
Very good morning to my dear students. कैसे हैं आप? First of all, I would like to salute all of you for your services towards community, towards nation, without caring for yourself and for your family members, and you are trying to treat and save each and every life in this community. Now, friends, right now, community needs you urgently. Nation needs you urgently. So I'm very sure, not 100%, but up to 200%, that you all will come out with flying colors in this coming examination. Now, as per my intuition, I'm expecting around 5 to 10 questions from the different aspects of this COVID disease, because whole world, I can say more than 200 countries right now are facing this problem for last 8 to 9 months. And if I would say the current or today's statistic, around 21 million, more than 21 million people in the world had been diagnosed with COVID, and 7.5 lakh plus people had died overall world today. And if you see for India, the total COVID numbers today is 24 lakh plus, and 47,000 plus deaths has been occurred till today. So it is a very serious condition for all of us. So as a clinician, as a medical faculty, we should know basic things about this disease, how we are diagnosing, basic epidemiology, how we are diagnosing, how we are having various side effects affecting different parts of body, how we are treating and preventing complications. So we will discuss so as a preventive portion, I'll be discussing epidemiology and preventive aspects of this particular disease. So Dr. Vineet, can I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
So as we doctors are frontline warriors for this disease to save our community, and if we see for epidemiology of this particular disease, it is a coronavirus disease which has been given name as COVID-19. It is in pandemic stage. This is one question. It is in pandemic stage, affecting more than 200 countries right now. The agent responsible for this disease is SARS-CoV-2, which has been given name as 2019 novel coronavirus. High number of subclinical cases and carriers are seen in this disease. So definitely this disease is showing iceberg phenomena. This disease is started as zoonotic disease from the animal intake, especially the bat and other animals. The disease has entered in human beings, but now it is transmitted from human to human through the different routes. Now, if we see for incubation period of the disease, this is another question I'm expecting. Incubation period is around 2 to 14 days. Our average is 5 to 6 days. The quarantine period, another very important to know, it is 14 days. I hope some of you must had undergone this quarantine phase while coming from your international universities to India. If we look for route of transmission of this particular disease, the most common route is through the droplets. So most common route is through the droplets, as well as it can be transmitted through contact of articles having the COVID virus or by use of fomites or sharing fomites. Secondary attack rate is very high, 30 to 40%. That's why it is highly infectious disease. But a very plus point with this is that it is having low case fatality rate. On an average is 3.4%, ranging between 2 to 10%, depending upon the presence of comorbid conditions. If comorbid conditions are high, then there is definitely a higher possibility of mortality. Now remember one point, that disease is spreading through droplets. It is not by droplets nuclei. The difference between the droplets and droplets nuclei is when we are coughing, sneezing, the particle with water droplets or water come out, it is droplets. When this water dries up, it becomes little bit lighter and it becomes droplets nuclei. Till now, it has not been proved that it is being transmitted by droplets nuclei. That's why we say that these droplets, they fall up to 5 feet. And that's why we'll discuss later on also social distancing distance. What we are recommending is up to 6 feet. It is not by droplets nuclei, not proved till now. Although the day by day different studies come up because this disease is new for everyone. So till now we say the route of transmission is from person to person through droplets. That is the most common route of transmission. Although it can be while touching any contact if it has been already been touched by COVID person. So these are the different routes of transmission of a particular this COVID disease. Now, if we look for epidemiology of this disease, then first case reported on 12th of December 2019 in Wuhan city of China. And remember, this is not the primary case, it is the index case. Index case means first reported case. Although the study says that some are having still the problem or infection signs even before that, but first reported case was on 12th of December 2019 in Wuhan city of China. On 31st of December 2019, Health Authority reported 27 cases of pneumonia of unknown origin to WHO China office in Wuhan city. On 30th of January 2020, that is important for India also because we had our first case as index case in Thrissur district in Kerala. And on same day, WHO has declared it is as public health emergency of international concern. So remember, we had our first case diagnosed on 30th of January 2020. Then on 11th of March 2020, global pandemic was declared by WHO. And on 12th of March 2020, India declared it as national emergency. So these are few historical dates we should remember. Now, symptoms will be discussed in detail by the different faculties in respective to different systems, but in general, we are having fever, running nose. Initially, it is giving symptoms like common flu, but most important is that it is affecting lung, leading to breathing difficulties. That is a special feature of this. Now, diagnosis will be discussed again in detail by our pathology faculty. But till now, the three important tests are there. And first, most important is the RT-PCR test from nasopharyngeal swab. We can do rapid antigen or antibody detection test. But here I just want to highlight, remember the antibody test detection, it is for surveillance purpose. For doing serosurveillance, we are checking for IgG and IgM antibodies, which is suggestive of past infection. And this will give us an idea whether community spread is there or not. Last month, Delhi government had conducted serosurveillance and report was saying that around 25 to 30% individuals they were found positive with antibodies. So this was suggestive of subclinical infection or presence of infection in carrier cases or subclinical form, which is not showing clinical features. So these are the few tests. And again, ENT faculty will discuss in detail how we are taking this nasopharyngeal swab. But I just want to highlight one point. Indian government has given the name as Kavach ELISA. So remember the name Kavach ELISA, it is been name given for detection of antibodies. And this has been developed in our National Institute of Virology, Pune. So this is Kavach ELISA. It is a test kit for antibody detection. We are doing screening as a thermal screening, and you all must have experienced this at airports or moving somewhere. So this is again a secondary level prevention. Actually, it is detecting only the temperature. It is not showing, they are not, cannot say that whether it is because of COVID or because of any other viral infection. By this only we can detect temperature of the body. So it is like a quick screening test. Then who are the different type of contacts to whom we have to check? This is again very important. There could be some high risk contact cases and there could be the low risk contact cases. Who are considered as high risk contact cases? Who live in the same household of a positive person. Anyone who is in close proximity, roughly less than 3 feet of the confirmed case. And that means there is a high possibility of transmission of an infection. As we had seen that it can transmit up to 3 to 5 feet. So these are having very high possibility of having infection. So who lives in the same household, anyone who is in a close proximity for less than 3 feet of confirmed case, who had touched any body fluid of patient, who had touched or cleaned the linen dishes used by the patient, or there is direct contact of the patient without PPE kit. So these are the high risk contacts because we have to check when we want to do contact tracing. Who are the low risk cases? Low risk cases are who had traveled in the same environment or who had shared the same space. Could be a possibility that they can catch infection, but they are considered as low risk individuals. Now, the next very important point is that to whom we had to test other than symptomatic individuals. This is I'm talking about for contact tracing, to whom we have to check just to detect the hidden cases. We have to check all symptomatic individuals, obviously, when they are showing symptoms, and especially earlier when the disease was started, we were checking those individuals who were having international travel history within last 14 days, because 14 days was the maximum incubation period. And earlier, the disease was started from European countries and USA, and India was not having the cases till that particular time when this guideline was there. Although for the last 3-4 months, we are not having the international flights available. So we are doing all symptomatic individuals with are having history of international travel in the 14 days, all symptomatic contacts of lab confirmed case, all symptomatic healthcare workers, all patients with severe acute respiratory illness, as well as asymptomatic direct and high-risk contacts of confirmed case between day 5 to day 14. This is again important because if we do less than day 5, we can have false negative results. And beyond the day 14 also, we can have false negative results. So preferred will be between day 5 to day 14. Now, the most important point is that as we are not having any specific drug, because all the drugs are hit and trial, vaccine not yet commercially available, although I'll come to that point that 2-3 days back, Russia has launched the Sputnik 5 vaccine. So the most important is that how we can prevent ourselves from having this particular disease. So 3 most important ways how we can prevent ourselves by having personal protective measures, environmental measures, and maintaining social distancing. Now, what can be in the personal protective measures? As we recommend that we have to wash our hands frequently for minimum 20 seconds or more. We should not touch our face or eyes, nose and mouth with the hands if you're touching anything. So before touching our face area, we have to wash our hands. Whenever we have to sneeze, then we should use our elbow because it will restrict our droplets. And frequently we have to use sanitizers. And one more point, usually sanitizers are containing 70% alcohol. This is another point we have to remember. And we have to use mask. Now, one point I want to share with you, that mask should be used by every individual. The reason is, if there is any carrier there, and suppose if the carrier is not using mask and the healthy individuals are using the mask, then there is a possibility of transmission up to 70%. But if carrier is using mask and contact is without mask, then there is possibility of 5%. But if both are using the mask, then the risk is only 1.5%. So we don't know who are the carriers for this particular disease, who are the subclinical cases. So we have to cut down the possibility of the risk as low as possible. So these are about personal measures, and very important that we are using personal prophylactic equipments. As PP kits, we are using different type of PP kits are recommended. Standard PP kits being used in the low prevalence area, full PP kit is used in high prevalence area, and enhanced PP kit is being used when we are handling confirmed case of COVID. And as a medical professional, we should be knowing that what should be sequence of putting this PP kit or done in. So first of all, we have to use our hairnet, wash our hands. And here just I wanted to say that we have to use the gloves at last. So we have to use or wear the gloves at last. 2 pairs of gloves we are using. So it's hairnet, wash your hands, gown, mask, and then goggles, and then we have to put our gloves. And we are having done off of this kit. Then first we have to take out these gloves, what we were wearing earlier. We have to wear a new or fresh gloves. Then we have to take out all over these material. And then finally we have to take out our gloves. So this is the sequence of removing our PP kit. That is again very important. This is to protect ourselves from the organism if accidentally they are present on outer surface of our kit. Now, if we look for environmental protective measures, we should avoid handshaking or touching any or hugging the individual, which can transmit the infection. We should frequently cleaning the surfaces, commonly used articles like door handles, the lift buttons. And for this, we are using disinfectant as 1% sodium hypochlorite solution. Another very important question. The disinfectant, commonly we are using 1% sodium hypochlorite solution, and we should have good ventilation to avoid over concentration of these particles in the environment. So these are our environmental measures. And the third is the social distancing. And this is, as I'd already said, that these droplets, they fall up to 5 feet. So another point is how much should be the minimum distance of a gap between the 2 individuals or social distancing. It should be minimum 6 feet. And you all must have seen this type of rings has been formed outside the medical store or a grocery shop just to maintain the distancing. So these are the few important points about prevention. Now, another very common question can be asked is that how we are disposing all these materials as biomedical waste disposal. So the guidelines for disposal of all the content used by the person is almost the same as the general guidelines for biomedical waste, except I want to highlight here the one point that till now government is recommending to discard gloves even in yellow category. Now, in general, we were discarding the gloves in red category. So be very careful if they are simply asked that gloves are discarded in which category, you should go with red. But if they specifically ask the glove used by the COVID person, then it should go in yellow category. The rest are same. So no confusion should be there. Now, government has classified the different centers to deal with mild, moderate, and severe cases. This will be discussed in medicine, that who are considered as mild, moderate, and severe cases. So I'll say that COVID care centers, they had been designed for treating the mild cases. Dedicated COVID health centers, they had been designed to deal with moderate cases. And the dedicated COVID hospitals with the ICU facilities, they are designed to deal with severe and very severe cases. And the guideline, they say that if any suspected person is coming to the clinic, and government has established the fever clinics also. So if any suspected person is coming, or if it is a confirmed case from anywhere, confirm, then directly we'll send to the respective centers as per the symptoms. If it is mild, we are sending to the COVID care centers. If it is a moderate, we are sending to the dedicated COVID centers. And if it is severe, we are sending to dedicated COVID hospitals. But if it is suspected case, still we are keeping in those centers and waiting for the report. And if report comes positive, we are shifting to the positive areas. But if it is negative, then we are shifting to non-COVID centers. So this is the guideline government has prepared to deal with mild, moderate, and severe cases. Now, the next point is what different activities will be different levels of prevention. This could be another question from the PSM point, that what different activities will be considered as primordial, primary, secondary, or tertiary level preventions. Now, if we see for COVID till now, there is no primordial level prevention, but yes, the most important we are following is primary level prevention. Now, primary level prevention can be specific for the individual person, where we can have personal profile protection or prophylaxis that we had already discussed. We are still waiting for the vaccines or chemoprophylaxis. Now, here I just wanted to highlight the chemoprophylaxis role is still not confirmed. Initially, it was suggested that if we are taking hydroxychloroquine, 400 milligrams twice a day on the day one, and then we have to take every week till next 7 weeks. So that was recommended earlier, but some studies says that it is not effective. But health promotion means it is for the whole community, social distancing, lockdown, and health education. So these are the only most important way to prevent ourselves from having infection. Now, secondary level prevention, if we can say, the thermal screening and contact testing or contact tracing will come under the secondary level prevention, when we'll try to find out the hidden cases. And tertiary level prevention is if a patient is in advanced stage, then we have to manage complications. So these are the different levels of prevention. Now, another point is, for the surveillance purpose, remember duration of surveillance. Duration of surveillance is 28 days. So don't confuse, the quarantine period is 14 days, but duration for surveillance is 28 days. Here, what we are doing, the 14 days absolute quarantine and 14 days we are leaving for self-reporting by the patient, and the health workers is also daily asking them about the condition. Now, 2-3 more points is that government has released one app, and that is Arogya Setu app. So just remember that Arogya Setu app is related to COVID disease. And this is, by this, government can track each and every person. And you can also have an idea that within 500 meters or 1 kilometer of your territory, how many confirmed COVID cases are there. Then government has issued a helpline. It is a toll-free 1075. It's a 24/7 helpline number. And in the last, I'd like to say one line about the vaccine. 2 days back, Russia has launched a vaccine as Sputnik 5, but it is still controversial because it is said that they had launched this only after conducting phase 1 and phase 2 trial in hurry, and they had not conducted phase 3. Although pharmacology, sir, Dr. Salman will tell you in detail about the different phases of these drug trial, but ideally they say that any drug or vaccine should come after completion of the phase 3 trial. Now, India is also undergoing the phase trials, and Covaxin vaccine, which government had said earlier that they are going to announce 15th of August. Now, let us see what happens in tomorrow's speech of our Prime Minister, whether they are going to announce about this vaccine or not. Let us see. So this, what information I had given, it is the guideline till now, till today. The day by day, the updates will come up, and till your examination, if any new update will come, definitely we will let you know. Over to Dr. Vinay. So this is from my point as community medicine portion.